I was a hardcore Democrat for a very long time. I worked on Alyssa Slotkin's campaign. I did a bunch of work. So I have lost a lot of faith in our two-party system, and I want to see something different. Because when we have something where it's insanity, you have the same thing over and over and over again.
But here's what I want to try to convince you.
Hey, before he even answers, I just want to say kudos to that question. That's what I would say like maybe 80% of Democratic voters are going through right now. Why do I want to continue to vote for this party who's, at the end of the day, don't have my best interest, just like the Republicans? Every time we vote them into office, they give us crumbs. And at some point, we're going to be tired of those damn crumbs. Damn it, we want the whole loaf of bread. Pete Buttigieg for president. Yes, I done said it. Pete Buttigieg for president. If you guys don't remember who he is, I don't blame you. I almost forgot about his presidential run in 2020. I have been seeing him a lot on like Fox News or a lot of these other media networks. And one thing that I have always been impressed about Pete Buttigieg is his conversation skills, his communication skills. Like, it is on point. He's just really just to the point. He's like not monotone, but just like just a voice that you don't mind hearing. He's not like a Ben Shapiro where like you just hear like 2-3 minutes of him talking and it's already annoying. You know what I'm saying? So, and he answers the question. You know, like those kind of things I look for in a president. Also, admitting wrongs. You know, like he's not just like trying to pretend like, you know, the state of America right now is at its best, but he'll tell you that, you know, and then kind of lay out a roadmap to how things can get better, you know, through X, Y, and Z, and just knowledgeable about the common folks' issues. You know what I'm saying? Because like sometimes when you hear like Kamala Harris or Trump, sometimes when you hear them speak, it's like, have you been to a grocery store lately? Have you put gas in your own car in the past year? You know what I'm saying? Like some of those disconnecting conversations, people notice, you know, and what we're going to watch right now is Pete Buttigieg on Jubilee. That's why I got the borders right here, because I don't want to get in trouble. But he is answering these people, and it's amazing. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm pretty sure we can have our conversations on, you know, what policies he ran on in 2020. I don't really remember, but I'm pretty sure we can find something we don't agree. But when you hear him have these conversations, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be the only one to think, why couldn't he be running for president right now? You know what I'm saying? But let's go ahead without further ado and let's see what he got to say.
My first claim is Donald Trump is only running for president for himself. Kamala Harris is running for president to make your life better.
Hey, no
morning.
Hello, good morning.
Nice meeting you.
Hi. So I agree with you. I think that Trump is very selfish. I don't think he's doing it for the people. He wants to do it for his own personal needs, or not really sure why, but I do agree Kamala is a prosecutor, so she tries to do it by the book, and she wants to bring justice, she wants to bring equality, and she wants to do it for others. It's not really about her. So I think that with Kamala, she's really good, but there's things that have happened in the U.S. that it's like bringing really big conversations due to the fact of some people not agreeing with things that she's allowed. I feel like there's a different way on how we can do things. Just because the U.S. is in debt, 35.7 trillion, I just feel like the way that we make decisions when it comes to money and economy, every American in the U.S. should agree with. You know, sometimes decisions are made and money is being spread out in different countries or in different ways. And the people from the U.S., we're still in debt. We're still struggling. We're still paying those taxes. So I just feel like we should meet each other in the middle somewhere, because our opinion really matters. With Trump, though, he never cared. So.
Yeah. So I feel like kind of what I'm hearing you say is you agree that Trump is in it for himself and that she's in it to make things better.
Yeah.
But that still might not decide how an election ought to go because of frustration about how things are right now.
Exactly.
Is that fair? I think part of what I would say, I don't disagree that we
Yep.
got a lot of problems right now.
Yep.
Right? I think part of what I would...
And maybe I'm just being a little too nitpicky or whatever, but just that admission right there is, I know things right now is not perfect. It's not where we want to be. Just saying that is like, that your administration is kind of behind the 8 ball right now. Not saying that you're not doing things to progress to get out of the situation, but we are not where we want to be right now. Don't lie to the American people. Don't pretend everything's happy-go-lucky, sunshines and rainbows. Like, no. Tell me that that you can admit that things are not where they need to be. Just do that one simple thing, and I guarantee you people would at least listen a little bit further. Guaranteed. So I like that little notion right there. To me, that means a lot.
I would say is that every election then is about what happens next,
Yes.
right? And it's not that anybody's got an easy fix for some of the problems you just named. They're huge problems. That's why they're still there. Otherwise, somebody would have fixed them.
Yep.
But the case I want to make is that she's going to be better able to address them, even if there's no magic wand on some of this stuff, because she cares more.
Yep.
And because she has more specific ideas that I think are going to help. You take the debt. Let's be honest. The debt has grown under Democratic presidents and under Republican presidents, right? But I would also say the biggest reason the debt grew under Donald Trump was that he was using the debt to pay for tax cuts for the rich. Mm-hmm. And that's different from something that's the equivalent of taking out a loan for a business or a mortgage, which is what I feel was done on something like infrastructure investment, right?
Yeah.
So I think the most important thing now is, okay, yeah, nobody's saying everything's perfect, far from it. But then what? Like, what happens next, right? And that's where I feel like the choice is so clear right now.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yes, I agree.
See? Beautiful. Perfect. He didn't go off and talk about like, oh, but Donald Trump. Like, he specified what his administration has done. They're not done. You know what I'm saying? Like, they still got a long way to go. It's not just some easy fix that you can do something overnight. And he hit on that if you're worried about the deficit, Donald Trump kind of blew that up for tax cuts for people, not you. You know what I'm saying? Like, beautiful answer. Didn't dodge, didn't pivot, didn't just like have that personal one-on-one conversation. Like, he hit everything on the nail and she, all right, cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was a satisfying answer.
If someone else wants an opinion, I can't remember it. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm Sailor. Nice to meet you. So you said the claim that Kamala's running because she wants to make things better, and Donald Trump says that he's just running because he is running for himself. I think anybody that's in politics is doing it for themselves, if we're being honest.
Hey.
Anybody that's in government, anybody who's doing this, they have a background where they're passionate about something. But if we're being real, if you're running for president and you've been in politics this long, it is really truly about yourself. The issue
can I
that
challenge that, though?
yeah,
I
sure.
mean,
Hey, but before he even answers, that's what 99.999% of people watching this video right now would say and agree. I myself, minus a few others like Bernie and maybe AOC and Ilhan Omar, Cory Bush, like, it's a short list that I do believe that they're actually in it for the people. But from majority left and right and in the middle, they might be a little questionable of their motives on why they're in politics, So that was a fair, honest, straight to the point. She didn't have no bull on top of that cake type of question.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody who's running for president is without ambition.
Yeah, of course.
But I don't think that means that your core motivation is that it's about you. I think that people, like you said, get into politics or public service out of idealistic reasons, you hope,
Yeah.
at least some of the time. But I think there's two very different paths in the two different candidates, right? So you look at him, this is obviously not somebody who, felt motivated to join the school board in his local community,
Yeah.
wound up running for mayor, and then ran for president. This is somebody who ran for president, in my view, basically as a branding exercise and then won. With her, she did
Yeah.
come up as a line prosecutor, right? And served as a prosecutor, served as AG, served as a senator, served as VP. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Anybody in politics, there's ego there, right?
Yeah.
I'm not denying that.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is I really feel that the things she's putting forward are more about solving our problems than the things he's putting forward.
Yeah, so I will say I'm not someone.
Hey, beautiful answer. I at least counted 2 or 3 times where he said he directly answered about the ego part, and he was being honest. He didn't say, Kamala Harris has no ego and she's 100% doing no. He was like, on every level at some point there's a little ego, there's a little ambition behind there. But if you look at what has been done, the public service, one candidate actually has that and the other has none. That means something. If you want to know the motives behind somebody, look at their job history. It's not hard. And say what you want about Kamala Harris. She has some experience. She didn't just be, a millionaire and all of a sudden running for president. That will be a little suspicious. I will want to see what you have done for the people and not just create jobs because you created jobs to benefit yourself at the end of the day. What did you do that was not self-serving? That's what I want to know. And if you look at the history, one says public service, one says no public service. You know what I'm saying? So once again, beautiful answer. He didn't beat around the bush. Beautiful answer.
Who would vote for Trump? I'm actually third party.
I see.
So
Okay.
Jill Stein, for example, I'm a hardcore environmentalist, conservationist. I'm an amateur entomologist, love bugs, but very big into the environment. I was a part of the Climate Corps in Michigan, so I know a lot about the environment. And I understand that Kamala has a lot of initiatives that she's put forth. I mean, during the Biden-Harris administration, you had the passing of the American Climate Corps, which is fantastic because I was a part of that.
Oh, it's great.
However,
you served in that?
yes, I did.
Very
yeah.
cool.
So, but the problem that I see is I feel like I'm very against the two-party system. And it's because I used to be a part of it. I was a hardcore Democrat for a very long time. I worked on Alyssa Slotkin's campaign. I did a bunch of work. So I have lost a lot of faith in our two-party system, and
There
I
you
want
go.
to see something different. Because when we have something where it's insanity, you have the same thing over and over and over again. You,
But here's what I want to try to convince you.
Hey, before he even answers, I just want to say kudos to that question. That's what I would say maybe 80% of Democratic voters are going through right now. Why do I want to continue to vote for this party who's at the end of the day don't have my best interest, just like the Republicans? Every time we vote them into office, they give us crumbs. And at some point, we're going to be tired of those damn crumbs. Damn it, we want the whole loaf of bread. All right, you guys are the bakery. I can see through the windows. You got bread for me and my people, and we want it. No more crumbs. No more half a slice of breads. No. Give me the whole loaf, or I'm not voting for you. That's where 98% of what Democratic voters are talking about. So let's see how Mr. Pete Buttigieg answers this question.
Sure.
Right. Yes, neither party is perfect. You've probably been let down by your party from time to time.
Yes.
All of us.
Hey, and I know you guys are going to get tired of me saying this, but what politician today would even admit that their party is not perfect? Even what Kamala would even say herself, she would even dodge a question like that. Donald Trump, of course, wouldn't even answer the question. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to give kudos for answering and just being honest with that.
Of us have. However, one of two things is about to happen, right? Jill Stein is not going to become president of the United States. Donald Trump is, or Kamala Harris is, right? And all of the things from an environmental perspective that were just achieved, these are not like little differences between center left and center right, right? You got one set that's saying climate change is a hoax, it's not even a thing.
Yeah, I'm
And the
not
other
I'm
side
not
that-
in support of Trump at all.
Right,
This
right.
is completely
What I'm
against
saying is
Kamala.
if he gets
and
back
Jill.
in, then the Inflation Reduction Act will be demolished.
That is
right.
fair.
So every piece of progress, and if you're saying it's not enough, there's more to do, I'm not totally disagreeing.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is we've come this far. Like we have right here in Michigan, right? We have factories rising out of the ground making EV batteries that are going to power a different kind of future.
But what it's
Or it
always
could be
talking about
reversed.
EVs and solar panels. What are we doing to protect our lakes in Michigan? We have 22% of the world's fresh
Yes.
water. We have Pipeline 5 going through the Straits of the Mackinac Island under Mackinac Bridge, underneath the bridge.
Okay, but
in
on
the
that,
water.
right? Again, like she's going to enforce the Clean Water Act. He's going to tear it up. Look at what he did to the EPA the first time, and that's when there
But
was
this
still
is the
some
thing, you
some
keep
guardrails.
mentioning stuff about Trump, but I'm trying to tell you, I'm in between Jill and Kamala. And this is the thing. Jill is fantastic. She's an activist. She has been doing this for years. And I understand Kamala has also gone against BP when it comes
Right.
to, anything like that. But I just have a feeling that I would rather change up. I want to change up the situation that we have in America. If you look at Norman Rockwell's painting, it's called The Great Debate. That was 40 plus years ago. It's the same thing that's happening now. 40 years ago, same thing, and we're doing the same thing now. Why do we want to continue the system and not try to change it up for third party?
But do you really feel like nothing's gotten better in 40 years? I get that everything we want to have happen hasn't happened.
Yeah, but
surely things have gotten better.
I don't want history to repeat itself.
For sure.
Thank you.
That was kind of awkward, but I don't think she really understood his answer. And I've argued with a lot of people in my Discord, in my comments, in my videos. We can disagree that the Democratic Party's not doing enough on X, Y, and Z, and the Republican Party, like, that's not even a conversation. But at this moment, right now, and if you're watching this, elections the next day, Jill Stein's not going to win. No other third party is going to win. It's either Trump or Harris. That's it. And if you care about the environment, maybe you shouldn't let the person in office who thinks it's a hoax, who thinks it's just a conspiracy. Like, let's just be simple and honest with ourselves. It's not complicated. You know what I'm saying? Is Harris going to, pass every bill to make you happy and feel comfortable about the environment? Probably not. But one thing that she's not going to do is roll things back. And all the progression that has been done for the environment is going to be now 10 steps backwards. You know what I'm saying? But who's going to do that? Hey, the name rhymes with chump. All right, there you go. Let's go to the next one, 2808. Now this one right here, I was like, hey, I think she's a plant. All right, I don't know. She came here prepared to kind of start some mess, but the way he answered it, I think was the best out of this entire video.
Deal with whether you're raising a family or not.
Fair enough.
My next claim is Americans will have more rights and freedoms under a Harris-Walz administration.
Hey, just one person.
Same here.
My name is Grace.
Grace, good night.
Frankly, I'm shocked that you would make that claim. I think I would love to know what the basis of that is, some
Sure.
specific examples.
Yeah,
Starting
let's
with
talk
freedom
about it.
of speech.
Sure.
If you
Okay,
could.
let's start with freedom of speech. So Donald Trump has said that he wants to revoke the licenses of television networks that have broadcast coverage that he disagrees with. I can't think of a more direct attack on the freedom of speech than a government official or a wannabe government official saying, I want to punish a television network because of their journalism, right? So that's how I feel about free speech. There's also more personal rights, a woman's right to choose, my right to have this ring on my finger,
Hey.
that I feel are much more secure if she's in charge than if he's in charge.
Now, that moment when he said, "This ring on my finger," because if you don't know, Pete Buttigieg is gay. He is married to a man, so that right there to me was like he tapped into something personal. Everyone can talk about freedom, freedom of speech or women's rights or whatever. But when you can talk about a freedom that could be taken away, and you're talking to that person, you're saying my freedom to choose who I want to marry could be taken away. You can't look that person in the eye and be like, no, who cares? Like those stupid answers or, those comments you would get or you will see under a video from people who obviously don't know reality or don't have friends. But to tell someone that, a smart ass answer in their face, you're not going to do that. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what human beings do, is connect with each other. So I think that answer that he gave her is like, what are you going to say about that? You're going to allow him to take my freedom of choice away? Come on now, let's see what she says.
On my finger that I feel are much more secure if she's in charge than if he's in charge.
And the evidence you have of Donald Trump being against gay marriage or wanting to roll back protections for gay folks to be married is what exactly?
The evidence is that he ran for president with a platform that specifically said in black and white that they were against marriage equality.
And like this is today.
So they've kind of rubbed that out of the platform since the last time he ran for president, but the people he put on the court are contributing to a majority that already took away a woman's right to choose and doesn't seem very interested in protecting my right to marry, nor did he do anything to help get that legislation passed.
Now, and we all know their platform is the nuclear family, man and woman. There's no if and there's no buts and there's nothing in between, and there's no talk about a spectrum. A family consists of a man and a woman. And if you ask me personally, as a Christian myself, I understand that. I actually believe that. But I'm not one to force my beliefs onto other people. If you don't believe that and you feel like you want to marry another man or marry another woman, hey, guess what? Do your thug dizzle and invite me to the wedding. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can walk and chew gum at the same time. I am comfortable with my belief in my religion and my relationship with God. I am comfortable with that. You know what I'm saying? So one thing that we already know is the Republican Party is not down for that, not one bit. So who are we trying to play here? Huh? Because it ain't me.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg didn't think that Roe v. Wade was the appropriate statute on which to be hanging reproductive freedom. And Obama campaigned in 2007. There was a bill introduced to the 110th Congress, H.R. 1964, the Freedom of Choice Act. He campaigned, the first thing I'm going to do as president is sign that bill. Once he was elected, I quote, "Not my highest legislative priority. I don't know why I should actually trust Democrats to enshrine reproductive rights as national law, because they had the opportunity so many times over the past decades. Most recently, in 2009, 2010, they didn't do it. Kamala's coming here and campaigning in Michigan on reproductive freedom. Guess what? It's part of our state constitution. Like, that's right. Manipulation of voters.
Well, I don't think that's...
Now, I've said this plenty times in my videos. I wonder if Pete Buttigieg saw one of my videos, was like, you know what? I like that answer, so I'm going to use it for myself. So let's take a listen.
Manipulation. Look, the whole point of a national right, I live in Michigan, right? But if I take my kids with my husband to their first ever Notre Dame game and I cross the state line, right. Obviously I'm talking about marriage equality, not reproductive freedom here, but just as an illustration of why a national right is important. I don't want my marriage to evaporate the moment I cross the Michigan-Indiana state line. What she's talking about is that a national right should be national. It's true, you have great leaders here in Michigan who have taken action at the state level to protect reproductive rights. But since when does civil rights disappear at state lines? And how is it pro-freedom to take away a national protection and say, well, if some state wants to take away this freedom, have at it. We went through this as a country with the civil rights era. We're definitely going through this right now on something like choice, where your rights in Alabama are different than they are in Michigan, right?
I do want to circle back to something you said about the number one thing.
She said, hold on. Okay, let's go backward. Hey, slow down now. And he makes a good point. And this is the same point that I've been making since, abortion really started being a hot topic. Is I don't understand why people want to leave it up to the states, because if a young lady is living in Texas, in the heart of Texas, you know what I'm saying? Not like on the outskirts, next to another state, but in the heart of Texas, and she needs an abortion or just wants one, where is she going to go? Do you think just the average person has money to just go to another state and do what they need to do? No. So they're stuck in a state to where people made the choice for her. So how is that your personal freedom? I don't get that. And apply that with anything. Like, that doesn't make any sense. That's why basic freedoms like that needs to be on a federal level. Point blank, period.
Thing you have as evidence for Donald Trump being against free speech is that he wants to revoke these licenses for campaign, like coverage he doesn't agree with. To what extent is it untrue coverage?
I think the whole idea of free speech is that people can go on a network and air opinions that you disagree with.
What about social media? Because the Harris
well,
Waltz campaign wants to make it illegal to put misinformation or malinformation on social media.
Well, that's not true.
That's what he said, and that's what she said.
At best, that's an extreme simplification, and it's not really true. I mean, look, nobody has made more statements about being willing to use the powers of government to shut down people who disagree with them than Donald Trump. And you think it's okay to shut down the license of a TV station? I
didn't say that.
Okay, I thought that was implied in your question when you said, what if it's untrue information that they're broadcasting?
Well, I'm just asking. He says a lot of off-the-wall things that certainly, I'm not, and I don't stand behind a lot of what he says, but just if he's angry about coverage that is manipulative towards people, that happens a lot. I'd like to.
The whole idea of free speech is that the government doesn't get to decide.
Certainly, but then you have.
There's no buts, there's no if, and there's no ands. The government cannot be in a position to tell media outlet platforms, you cannot put this, X, Y, and Z coverage on this president. That's completely different. And he's going to get into it. I'm going to let him explain it. But in regards to unfavorable coverage, no, that's literally how dictators work. I don't understand how you're like, well, but what if it's really mean stuff? No, partner, the government, which Trump is trying to get in, can't dictate that. He can't shut down CNN because they're saying he's a horrible racist president. That's not how that works, partner. No, come on.
And Donald Trump doesn't get to decide.
Certainly, but I don't want Kamala Harris also to decide.
And neither does she, right? That's the point. But she's not going to threaten the licenses of stations that cover her unfavorably.
But they threaten
he has.
Section 30, whatever it is, for social media.
Not based on unfavorable political coverage.
There you go.
Now, there is an idea that social media companies need to be more accountable for their choices, especially when you look at how they're harming women and girls, for example, by what goes out on Instagram, right? But that's not the same as a free speech debate.
Beautiful. He hit it on the nail. What I do think, me personally, I think the government should tell these social media platforms that they need to be more responsible on the information that's being spread. One example is during COVID. You had 1,000,001 all of a sudden scientists out there, doctors, all of a sudden, they just rose out the bed and all of a sudden they're doctors trying to tell people how to treat themselves. It's no, that is dangerous. You are not a doctor. You are no scientist. You should not be telling people how they should handle something that can kill them and their family. That's no. Platforms, in my opinion, need to make sure that kind of information is censored. You cannot just be telling people to inject bleach into their arm because you think that's gonna work somehow. No, don't think so. So those are two different things. from what he's telling is the Democratic Party are trying to impose some sort of law or regulations on social media platforms on being more responsible of the misinformation for, those big conversations like COVID. And Trump wants to shut down media platforms because he doesn't like what they say about him. Those are two different arguments about freedom of speech. You can't go into a movie theater yelling fire. That's not protected under the First Amendment. Go check it out. I did earlier today. It's still there. Okay? So once again, he answered the question. He didn't dodge around it. And he was specific with the question. Once again, beautiful. I honestly think that's what a president needs to do. One, answer the damn question. Stop beating around the bush. Stop pivoting. You can talk about your opponent, but first answer the question. Don't start your question off, well, Trump or well, Harris. Like, no, answer the question and then talk about your opponent. Beautiful. Second, admit when you are wrong or your administration is falling short. If you know today, right now, even though the statistics are showing that inflation is going down, unemployment is going down, that sounds good. But people are not feeling that. They still have to go to the grocery store and prices is still high. You know what I'm saying? So as the Democratic administration, you have to be able to say, hey, as a team, as an administration, we are not where we want to be. But trust me, we're going to get there through X, Y, and Z policy. That's simple. And 2 or 3, know what the hell you're talking about when it comes to these issues. Trump, you know what I'm saying? When they talk about child care, answer the question about child care. Don't go off talking about immigrants and tariffs and stuff. Know what you're talking about, because this is what the everyday person wants to hear. Simple, baby. So once again, if you think I said anything wrong or you disagree with anything that I said in this video, hit the Discord link down below so we can have that one-on-one talk, or let me know how you feel in the comments down below. And like always, let's have that conversation.